We are live, episode 5, MCO Talk. Tonight we're talking social crowdsourcing with my lovely co-host Ashley, and we have Brandon, Cynthia, and Ryan. We're going to get right into it tonight, get started. We have a full action-packed episode, so let's introduce Brandon first, and just give us a little bit about you, Brandon.
Yeah, I just moved over to a really cool company called Hello Society. It takes the traditional creative agency model and it crowdsources it among creators and influencers. Before that, I was over in Austria just a month and a half ago working for the Red Bull International team, and I used to work with Ashley a few years back.
Doing wine, right?
Yeah.
No. Wine for Red Bull?
I don't know. Cynthia's out in Arizona. Cynthia, what's going on?
Good. It's warm out here.
It's warmer than here. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. I'm the founder and president of FabulousArizona.com, which is a local online publishing website out here. I also have Sassi Media, which specializes in social media and internet marketing for small businesses.
Nice, nice. Arizona. You take Scottsdale by storm from everything I see. It's like you're everywhere.
Yes,
like you are Scottsdale.
I've been called Miss Scottsdale, if you will.
Well, you should. That's good. And last but not least, my man Ryan Cooley at Meerkat. So Ryan, just want to out the shirt.
I love it, dude.
The shirt that's like 3 sizes too small, but just tell us. You know what? Everyone knows about Meerkat, but tell us about you, man.
Yeah, so I'm currently Meerkat's community director, and I've been working with the team for the last 2 years since we launched our original product, which was called Yevo back in the day. And so what I do for our team is I try to find interesting use cases in the community and then nurture and amplify them. So we've seen a whole bunch of them lately, whether it's sports, news, journalism, education, cooking, fitness. I kind of try to work with everybody in our community and figure out how we can make the product better for them. So that's what I do.
I love the product, and as you well know, I am big time on Meerkat. So thank you for giving the world an opportunity really to live stream somebody. So let's just jump right in. I want to talk about, actually this is Ashley's topic tonight, but I'll start off with our leading question, and I just want to know what comes to mind when somebody mentions crowdsourcing? Just the word crowdsourcing. What comes to your mind? And anyone that wants to jump in can jump right in.
I guess I'll chime in just because I kind of started this one. So I mean, to me, crowdsourcing, it's been around for a while, but in the recent past years, we've seen a lot of movement with social media crowdsourcing. And so to me, crowdsourcing is just going out, seeking answers or research on something that, otherwise would have cost us a lot of money and time and effort by creating, these clever marketing campaigns. It's just a means of, getting the broader scope of something without having to tap into a smaller entity.
And I mean, for crowdsourcing, I know personally, like when I hear it, I just think of community, and I think of more than just one source of one source. Funny, huh? I just think of more than one method of activating a community. And I don't know who else. Brandon, what about you? With Red Bull, there had to be a lot of crowdsourcing, content, and
yeah.
A lot of things.
Anytime I hear the word crowdsourcing, I actually get a little angry because I love it so much, and because it can transform a medium to large size business so much. Because everyone's functioning in this pyramid top-down model where someone tells other people what to do, they tell other people what to do, and it's not an efficient use of people resources. And so if a company can change so that a director of a program or even a CEO of a company is more of an investigative reporter among his people to ask the tough questions and the good questions and highlight great work and figure out what's not working, what is working, just ask the right questions of your people, listen to them, coach them on strategy, and let them build your business instead of the top-down, passed-on approach where you try to pretend this guy has all the answers. So that's why I get angry when I hear it, because most businesses aren't taking advantage.
Well, is it something? And well, you know what, I'll ask that after. Go ahead. And Cynthia, I just want to hear from you too before we jump into a little more here.
Oh, so did you want to hear from me on that one?
If possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great, especially, you know, I work with a lot of small businesses, and we get a lot of, you know, feedback, actually, you know, via social media, you know, so that's kind of a nice way for them to hear from, you know, their consumers on what's working and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the way of, you know, everyone's trying to get a more of an idea of what their audience is looking for, as opposed to just internally and out. Does anyone have any, you know, favorite social media campaigns out there that are crowdsourced campaigns?
I think the one that the only one I really think of is what Audi did with all their Instagram followers, where they brought out some of the best to this racetrack, and they let everyone take a photo at certain points along this track of the car whipping around, and then they uploaded their picture with a certain hashtag and a number. Obviously, there was a production manager there, making sure that everyone gets the right shots and it flows together, and then they got to give it a filter or whatever. They put it up there, and then each photo they turned into a frame of the video of the car whipping around the track, and then they used that for their above-the-line advertisement. And I think that that's a perfect example of how a brand can engage their consumers in such a cool way and have an impact and deeper engagement to bring them closer to the brand, to still tell the brand story without paying as much as they probably would for a production agency to do it all themselves, and it's not even as cool and no one pays attention.
And it's much less authentic as well, right?
Completely. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I'll save it for later. You go.
I just, you know, Brandon, you know, I've known you for a little while, and I would love if you could share, you know, your own crowdsourced campaign that you did with your father. I thought, you know, that was really brilliant.
Okay. So this is a very personal one, but and Mashable wrote an amazing article about a year and a half ago called "How 3,500 People Crowdsource Love for a Dying Man." And basically, one day I found out my dad had cancer, that he wasn't going to survive, and he had about 6 months to live. And I could only express my gratitude to him so much. And so I reached out to my friends and I said, guys, this is my dad. His favorite color in the world is, he always said, was sky blue pink, when the sun sets or the sun rises and the blues and pinks mix together. And my elementary school teachers would ask the whole class sometimes, hey, class, what's your favorite color? I'd always say sky blue pink. And they'd say, that's not a color, Brandon. You need to choose green or blue or black. So I went home and I was like, Dad, they said your favorite color isn't even a color. And he's like, hey, Brandon, don't ever subscribe to what people put into an old Crayola box. And that didn't mean too much to me until I was older, and it kind of had more of broad reach across the way to think about life or any problem or whatever. So I explained that to people, that this is my dad. He's in his last season. This is his favorite color. And so if you can help me paint his entire hospice wall with sky blue pink, that would be great if we can do it together. So I told them to take photos mostly on Instagram and hashtag sky blue pink of their local sunsets. And people just started to share it. And we got people sending things in from like 130 different countries, 3,500 people, and his entire hospital wall was covered in these little tiny pink and blue pictures. So to me, that's like ultimate crowdsourcing.
I love it. I love it. It was so awesome. Cool.
I mean, I appreciate you sharing that too. It's so personal, and it just goes to show how many different things that you can actually crowdsource, right? I mean, it's not just for brands. You can crowdsource personal things too.
And the beautiful thing is, people want to work together. Clearly, as humans, we want human contact. We want to communicate with others. We want connection. And so when someone gives us that avenue, of course we're going to take it. if it's for a good cause or making a better way to solve a problem, amazing.
Well, that kind of brings us into another thought. But I know Ryan wanted to say something first, so I don't want to cut him off.
No. I love it. I was just going to talk about. This isn't like a shameless plug. Yesterday we had one of our power users. Her name is Susie Nguyen. Do you know Susie on the app? String Story.
Yep.
She was like, I'm gonna go raise money for Nepal and let people pay me with something called Change Tip. So you can actually transfer Bitcoin via Twitter by mentioning the person's Twitter handle and Change Tip and an amount of money. And she was live, taking donations for like 2.5 hours. She raised almost $700.
Amazing.
And she had hundreds of people flowing through her stream. She was talking to them about what was going on over there. She was incentivizing the donations. And at the end of only a few hours, she was able to source all of these donations and raise a decent amount of money for 2.5 hours worth of streaming. So I thought that was kind of a beautiful
Such a
thing.
cool example. And it speaks to how if you make something frictionless, you can accomplish some pretty amazing things.
It's true, and if you make people feel as though that they can be in the same room together, it generates an energy and a tension that you don't necessarily get through your top-down approach that you were describing earlier. Everybody, all of a sudden, the playing field is leveled, and like we all feel as empowered as the other person to kind of have impact and to make a change, whether it's live, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's wherever.
What do you? This goes out to everyone because we'll start with Cynthia on this one. But what do you think is the biggest benefit to social media crowdsourcing? I know Brandon kind of alluded to it. Actually, everyone kind of alluded to it, but we'll start with Cynthia. What do you think is the biggest benefit?
Well, I think it's so cost effective, and one of the campaigns that I actually think of when I think of crowdsourcing is the Lay's campaign that they did to come up with a new flavor, and so they have everybody submit the different flavors that they wanted the next Lay's chip to be. So it's like instead of them sitting there trying to come up with it in the corporate headquarters and sampling, a group of people through some market research, they're getting, they're reaching so many more people, and then at the same time, they're also creating a whole marketing campaign with it. So I just think it's so much more cost-effective in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's also better for the relationship that brands are going to have with their consumers anyway, simply because you're giving them the power to make the decision, right? You're giving them a piece of the pie. You're giving them a piece of the potato chip bag at that point. And so it's empowering and it's inspiring, and it builds relationship between you and your brand, or between your brand and the consumer, that you wouldn't really get if you were just constantly pushing product out and pushing ideas out and pushing things out. When you're bringing them into the loop, it builds something special and builds brand loyalty that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing. So for me, not that you said it, I think that's the biggest aspect of it is the loyalty that you get. Now, people feel like they own a piece of that bag. Like, oh, I helped submit that cappuccino flavored potato chip or whatever, whatever flavors they came out with. I don't even remember. The sriracha one was the one I liked. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's that brand loyalty. It's something that you can't get elsewhere. If you just kind of, like you said, top down, Brandon, and you come out and these are our flavors, whether you like them or not, these are what they are.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's still people that go for a classic potato chip. I like the potato. I love that one, Cynthia. That was a good one. But of course, you're still gonna love a sour cream and onion. You have your cheddar. You have all your regular standard flavors. But how about something else, something a little different? So that was a great point, both of you guys. And I don't want to cut you off, Brandon. Go ahead.
Wait, what?
I didn't want to cut Brandon off. I know I kind of.
Brandon.
No, okay.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I guess the biggest thing for me is now that we've kind of touched on, outsourcing, crowdsourcing. What about internal crowdsourcing? I know for a lot of us, I would say for majority of us, we've had to work internally to crowdsource ideas. Do you guys have any examples of something that you can think of, or projects where you crowdsourced internally where you might have worked previously or currently do now?
Mm-hmm. I'll say, like, back to that top-down pyramid model approach. Most companies have functioned the way that they do just because that was the only means they had to do so, and they're still managing company ideation in that same model, just because as people we're creatures of habit and it's easy to just keep doing what we've done in the past. But if you think about the tools that we have to connect, now it's possible. People just aren't used to it yet. And so it's still very siloed. But when you are a large company and you allow your intern in Canada to submit an idea that, you know, can be taken up to the international level, that's when beautiful things start to happen, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's interesting to see with these networks being built for companies, you know, these social entities that are internal. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. I'm like totally blanking on the name. But it's interesting to see, you know, right now I currently work in a small company. Prior to this, I worked at a large wine company where social, you know, there were nearly 20 properties. You couldn't, you know, they were all over the West Coast. I couldn't drive physically to Santa Barbara every single week and not kill at least a day doing so. So, you know, crowdsourcing for us was a matter of, okay, well, how do we, you know, educate our employees about social? How do we teach them how to use social? And how do we actually make them feel like they're a part of what we're doing? And, you know, crowdsourcing to me it's kind of evolved more out of this marketing role into something that's now kind of just this everyday, like, this is the way that things should be operating role. And so I know that I've been promoting the hell out of it, but, you know, I wrote a piece this morning about the power of crowdsourcing and how we're using crowdsourcing to kind of accomplish everything that we need to accomplish. You look at something like Tesla, who, you know, they don't close their patents so that people can contribute. I think, you know, those things speak a lot of power to what, you know, our future is becoming, and crowdsourcing is, you know, the wave of the future.
Right. Well, I think what Tesla is doing is Tesla is also just kind of they're accepting the inevitable, which is that there's going to be total transparency in the future. So the point of trying to be tight-lipped and keep these things from innovators and from other people that could build on top of them is really totally moot at this point, because all of this is going to become so accessible in such a short period of time. One thing I also wanted to say that I thought was an interesting use of crowdsourcing that's making me think now about wearables is how everybody within the next few years is going to be you're going to be able to access data across everyone that's wearing any sort of computing technology. So I don't know if you guys do you know Tile, the company Tile?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tile
it's a Bluetooth finder.
So Tile has this beautiful system.
Isn't it near field communication, Ryan?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
That's not Bluetooth.
Hold on, I can find my keys. I actually have a Tile.
It's not Bluetooth because, yeah.
Oh, isn't it Beacon?
Turn Bluetooth on to use the app.
But regardless, so let me give you guys an example of how they kind of used automated crowdsourcing. So, which I'm sure you're now all familiar with, especially if you have the product. So if you have a tile on a piece of property that you own and you lose that thing and you're nowhere near it, Tile will actually put the word out to people around you that also have the tech, letting them know that the property is missing. Am I wrong? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So basically, oh yeah, go ahead.
So those people are all walking around with computers in their pockets that allow Tile to notify them when someone in the community needs something and they're a relevant person to reach out to. And so that, in a sense, is crowdsourcing on its own because they're leveraging their own community to help keep the product effective.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I had met I can't remember what his role was. He was a C-level there, but one of the founders, and he was explaining it to me, and it was kind of crazy thinking about, you know, like wearables again, how that's going to be a means of crowdsourcing. And I think it was, I want to say it was Cisco. It was in a recent article, and it was talking about crowdsourcing and the Internet of Internet of Things, it was saying, you know, within the near future, 99% of things that we own are going to be connected to some kind of network. And you think about it, and it's like, yeah, we have, you know, smart clothing, we have smart beds, we now have, you know, smart cars. Everything is kind of, everything is turning into a computer, and it's becoming another source of data. And to think that we could crowdsource all this information and make our lives better is kind of, it's like amazing. So, you know, I'm interested to see, you know, with the Apple Watch what happens, and, you know, if that actually lends to, you know, any kind of means to crowdsource. I mean, we're carrying around our phones, but
I think that's a great point with the Apple Watch, that it can send so much health data.
Oh yeah.
That then the healthcare system in general can look at that to better understand heart attacks. So perfect example of crowdsourcing in a way, like.
No, it is. I just hope they don't know when I'm eating pizza or drinking wine. They're like, hold on, her wrist is at this angle, and it's been like that for a couple of seconds. She's definitely drinking wine. I get an email from my doctor.
I think that you can break it into, what I like that the Apple Watch is doing is it's allowing people to contribute to crowdsourcing very passively, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have these two ways of crowdsourcing, the way that I'm seeing it now, which is, one, your Lay's or Frito-Lay, and you go out and you tell your audience, or you tell your customers, hey, we want this, and let's empower you to make the decision. The other is what tech companies have been doing for forever, which is just allowing people to create the data and generate the content that they then go out and create meaning out of. And I mean, that's a theme that we see everywhere, whether it's crowdsourcing or even A/B testing a landing page is crowdsourcing, right? Everybody's leaving data everywhere. And whether it's on your smartwatch or whether it's on your smartphone or whether it's on your computer, doesn't really make a difference. Everybody is contributing to a massive database that we're constantly able to tap for crowdsourcing, you know?
And I'm going to go back to what we were talking. We were talking a little about internal, and my buddy Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans on Twitter, you know, he talks about employee advocacy, and isn't that really where it starts? Isn't that really where, you know, internal crowdsourcing starts, with the employees, giving them that power? I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's been preaching that for a long time, and really, you know, he's been preaching that crowdsourcing without using the word crowdsourcing, and it's really that's what it's about, is empowering your employees to go out there and be an advocate for your brand, and by doing it, you know, by doing it in such a way where now your employees feel, hey, this brand is mine, or whatever it may be, just like we talk about with the Lay's potato chips. Where you feel like it's a piece of, you know, you're a part of it, you know, there's more loyalty that goes there. So that's that. And then someone else made a comment, and I'm just kind of going through the Twitter stream here. Someone had asked a question if they should something about Captain America or Thor, and someone responded and said, you should crowdsource for your answer. So I think we're so naturally inclined to like go out and ask questions and say, like, what does everyone else think? And we don't even think of it as crowdsourcing. Now we're putting a label on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, totally. Like if you think about it, back when we were like even pre-humans walking out of the forests and hunting together, like that's crowdsourcing a killing of a woolly mammoth. And for a while they might have, you know, grunted and pointed, and then they developed communication to say, hey, Jim, you go left, I'll go right, Ashley, you go down the middle, we're going to chase him off the cliff. If he doesn't fall, you stab him. Like that's crowdsourcing food. And it's just evolving our communication beyond that, and that's where we are. But it, of course, has its full history. But like I said, the thing that pisses me off is so many large companies are still just at their employees instead of tackling the war going together.
Well, so all right, I want a little bit of a shout out here to Cynthia. She was selected as a nominee for. I'm not, correct me now, Cynthia, because I'm probably going to butcher exactly what it was for. But she's up for Woman of the Year in Scottsdale, and with no, go ahead. Why don't you tell everybody?
I mean, it's an well, I'm getting some.
Does someone have their
How do I fix that?
Do you have a mic?
Someone must have pulled their headphones out.
There. This is what I'll do. I'll just mute everybody else.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay. It's essentially a template campaign. Are you guys getting the feedback?
A little bit.
I just hear a lot of dog.
All right. Well, we'll go. We'll keep chatting a little bit here then until we can get Cynthia back with the little tech difficulties there. There we go. We got everyone. I know. Well, Ashley, you know what? Go ahead. I know you had a couple other questions queued up that you were thinking of. So.
Yeah. I mean, oh, it's still doing that.
Still got some feedback. It could be me. Here, let's swap in here.
Is that better?
Is that better?
Oh yeah, I don't hear anything.
That was me. Gonna have to end this Meerkat stream, guys.
So I guess like the next big question is quantifying crowdsourcing. So kind of how we go to investors or executives and kind of sell the idea of crowdsourcing. You know, what are the properties or elements that we talk about when we're, you know, pitching these ideas about crowdsourcing? Just kind of like the ROI that we would expect from crowdsourcing. I, you know, personally don't really honestly know the answer, but you know, for me, I'm kind of curious if you guys have any ideas that you go about, you know, kind of addressing, you know, expenditures on, you know, softwares or companies that provide, you know, assistance with crowdsourcing.
Can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. It's kind of like a long-winded question. It's basically, you know, for someone who's wanting to engage in crowdsourcing, how would they go about explaining it to upper management, you know, about, you know, the return on investment that they would get for crowdsourcing? You know, kind of how we will go to upper management and tell them, hey, we're going to spend, let's just say 10 grand, and we're going to expect, you know, 30 or 40,000 in, you know, views.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of curious if you guys have any kind of, you know, stories or backgrounds to tell on, you know, pitching crowdsourcing to upper management, and then kind of how you go about it.
I think really the way I understand, you know, for me to understand that is like, how do you show, you know, is it valuable? Because it's not a mindset, at least the way I look at it is, it's not a mindset that others, like, we're all pretty much in the same age range here, and so for us it's like second nature, but I think other generations and other, like you said, upper level management that may have like antiquated thinking, they might, like, why would you ask everybody? We just kind of come down from the top, like Brandon, so we're going to go back and focus on that. But how do you preach that without insulting their thought process and showing value of the crowdsourcing? You know, what does that conversation look like? And I maybe, you know, Brandon, Ryan, Cynthia, you guys can jump in on there.
Well, I feel like that's the struggle in social media in general, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen.
Showing the value, right?
It's a struggle every day. What I mean,
a lot of my clients, I work with small local businesses, and so a lot of them are older people that they just know what they do and they don't know anything about marketing, much less, you know, the digital side of it. And so I feel like it's a constant uphill battle for me to, you know, try to explain to them how social media is of value to them. But, you know, especially the crowdsourcing, it's the same thing of just trying to show them, look, you can get, you know, information about what's working and what's not and what your consumers want. You know, I don't know how you just put that into numbers.
You know, that's like, I mean, that's a conversation I've actually had numerous times over the past 3 weeks. Can you give numbers? What is the ROI? What is the quantifiable data? And it's difficult. It's difficult to give that. So how, you know, is there another way to provide that information or provide similar information, whether it be social, the power of social, the value of social, the value of crowdsourcing? I think social in itself is crowdsourcing at its finest. Am I right? Would everyone agree that that's really, you know, the epitome of crowdsourcing is social media, right? Mm-hmm. Like what we do every day, everything we do is we create content geared around our audiences, user-generated content. You know, look at Snapchat. I love Snapchat because they have the ability to crowdsource events. Am I right? You can if you're like I was watching the Yale Harvard game, that's a big deal for us here in Connecticut, like go Yale, and I'm watching snaps from people at the game and people tailgating, and I mean there's plenty of others like hockey playoffs and NBA playoffs and whatnot, but I think so to us it's so easy, like this is crowdsourced, we have no problem doing it. But how do you get anyone to understand it? And maybe there is no answer right now. I'm not looking for.
My solution in the past has been figure out what your use case is. What exactly are you trying to sell them on? Find the most parallel case studies, examples that you can, and just hold it up to them and say, look at what Audi just did in this commercial. And you can get some numbers on how many people liked it, number of media articles that show up when you search it, and use some of that. For me, like internally, within a company, pitching it for internal use, it all came down to the case studies. And I mean, there's even a lot of Gartner and Forrester, is that what it's called? Just like research on intranets and how much time you can save people for like ideation if you put that into place. And so I think the numbers are out there, whether it's a tangent research article or just a bunch of case studies. And I don't even think you always have to have the quantifiable numbers, because you can pull on the heartstrings a little bit with just the gut reaction to the qualitative of it also.
And Cynthia is in this is a similar. For me, I coach small business clients, so I understand exactly where you're coming from. Where you're constantly trying to prove yourself and trying to prove, like, hey, this is the value of it. This is the value of it. Is it ever possible? Or, okay, number one, is it ever possible to not have to show a case study? And do you think there's a time when we won't have to show, like, hey, look, it's been proven,
For sure.
There's no ROI of the cell phone. Like, I don't ever need to go to a guy, to a company and say, hey, you need a cell phone because, like, here's the ROI of having the cell phone. Like, it's an easy sell, right? But socially, you can't do that.
For sure.
But I'm curious because, and I'm actually intrigued because Cynthia works with smaller businesses, and I love that because I'm community oriented myself. So how, what other insights would you have for that? For going to approaching those that don't have the mindset or don't understand it at all?
Well, I mean, some of my clients, they look at my personal social and they see what I've been able to do with that, and so they use that as kind of their base of, wow, you've grown this huge network, you can do that for me. And also, I'm really passionate about what I do, and they hear that. So kind of back to the heartstrings a little bit, I'm able to kind of, get them to believe in the passion of, the work that I do, I guess. But there are, there are times that it's a struggle to try and show them the value, and how you show the exact ROI is really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of, I am very cautious on showing exact numbers. It's very difficult to show a specific number. You're going to get this. You're going to get this. And it's unfortunate because so many times people think likes and followers and all that kind of stuff is the ultimate number, but really it's not just, those are vanity metrics. So we can go all day about that, but I have a question from the crowd. I want to make sure I ask it. Lisa asked, I lost it. She said, is internal crowdsourcing, and Brian, we can start with Brandon because this kind of question goes towards you. Is internal crowdsourcing the same as cross-functional collaboration?
Yes. Well, to some degree, you can have a system that, like SharePoint or Jive or Yammer, or name your system, that's meant for that. But if you don't have people in your company who roll it out in the right way and coach you on how to get the most out of it, then it fails. Most people who roll out a social intranet fail because they don't use it properly. The directors need to become community managers, and if they don't have that mindset, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That's a good question.
What about Ryan? What about you? Can you answer that question in terms of what you've done with Meerkat?
So I've been hanging back because for the last 5.5 years, I've been working for companies that have fewer than 15 employees. So, I don't have experience with large organizations. All I have is startup experience, and then I worked for myself before that. So that's why I've kind of been sitting back on this question, because when it comes to large organizations that have a much more vertical graph, I haven't been there. Every company I've ever worked for has been totally flat. So the intern is addressing the CEO, and the CEO is addressing the intern. You know what I mean?
You're lucky.
It's a choice that you make. People. A study came out last year that said, look, if you like working for companies that are under 15 employees, you're probably not going to be very successful in larger companies. And I think it's good, and vice versa. And I think it's good to have an experience in both, but at the end of the day, you're probably better suited for a certain style of communication and access to your community that a large company can't offer if you're into a small company, and the other way around.
Yeah.
I think the biggest backlash, or I guess like the biggest struggle with working at a larger company is, I guess, your voice, depending on the type of company that you're at. Typically, you have a harder time communicating what you want to do and making it move fast, and because social is so nimble, it's kind of a downside of working at a large company. You can't be as nimble. You can't be, most of the time, you can't be as careless. You can't, test the waters. There's a lot of there's a lot of other issues that are surrounding a larger company. So when you're at a startup, it's kind of like the wild, wild west. You're just kind of like, hey, like, woo, let's go for it. Let's just try it. Let's just see what happens. So, I've worked in both environments. I was plenty fine at a larger company, and I was, plenty fine at a startup. I think the hardest part about working at a smaller company is you have so much weight on your shoulders. So, there's no room for failure when you're working for a smaller company versus, a larger one where, hey, I spent $5,000 on a marketing campaign and it bombed. Well, a larger company is like, okay, yeah, that happens from time to time. Startup, your boss is, probably pulling your hair and slapping you around and going, what are you doing? So, the margin of error is kind of smaller. But, I think for most people, I think you need the experience in both. I just think for the idea of crowdsourcing, it's better to start early in a company instead of trying to implement it at a larger company and then moving from there.
Janine on the Twitter side here said that I think showing exact numbers can set you up for failure too.
Absolutely.
Has anyone had? I actually have. I totally have. I totally have experience with that. Does anyone else? Does anyone else?
For sure. For sure. Because your numbers might not be that impressive, but what you put out there was different than what other people saw, and so it sticks in their mind. And so, like, what you'd used to pay $1 per click for, actually, I don't know where I was going with that. But it sticks in their mind more. So that it has more.
It has
more value.
It's
like it's worth $5 per click because they remember it 10 times more than the thing you paid $1 per click for before. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, and for me, here, I'll give you a little bit of the hot water I got myself into a couple years back was giving specific numbers. I said, well, you're going to get X amount of growth and you're going to get Y amount of engagement and this and that, but I think engagement is so, especially when you're not implementing something like a crowdsourcing, using a contest, or anything like, we'll go back to the Lay's potato chip, where you're not using something like that, you have no control over engagement. You don't know what you're going to get back. So, I had all these, I thought I was like a tough guy, and I'm like, yeah, you're going to get this, you're going to get that, and I'm going to increase your brand X, Y, and Z. And fortunately, it was a small business that was willing to work with me, but, had I done that with a larger, maybe like a medium-sized enterprise business that maybe knew a little bit more what they were talking about, I totally could have shot myself in the foot. And it wasn't that I didn't deliver what I said I was going to. I totally did. But because at the time there was no implementation of any, we didn't do anything like a contest or any crowdsourcing, user-generated content. we had they didn't have the community for it. The community wasn't there. The community wasn't thinking ahead. The community wasn't thinking the way we're thinking here on this panel and the way we think on social every day. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was bad. But anyway.
I think yeah, just trying to tell someone, hey, your network's gonna grow 100% is like an automatic, you're gonna fail. Like that is just probably the worst thing you could ever do going into, pitching someone is like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for you, because unless you've done it 100% of the time, every single product and business is so dynamic that the way that the social grows is just you can never predict. I think in terms of trying to talk numbers, I usually talk about the social value of having someone added to your community. And I mean, the last time I did this research on how much value each customer adds, was 4 years ago. I was just starting my career in wine, and I had to basically pitch the guy that owned our company. And, he's this finance guy, so everything's about numbers. It's like, how much, what's the dollar head of every single person that's on our Facebook? What's the dollar head of every person on Twitter? And so in explaining, the social value, that's how I had to go about it. It was, it was kind of the silliest way to go about it, but it made sense if you think about it in a marketing term or email marketing term. It's, how much value does every single person on your list add to your overall e-commerce goals? So I think it just kind of depends on the dynamic of the brand or the product that you're going into, and then, leading with the numbers there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to mention something, and hopefully it's not too I tend to get very tangential, so I apologize. But
don't apologize. You're an MCO talk, man. We're here to talk anything.
In terms of our product, we kind of see this old paradigm of social media that exists where you create a piece of content and you post it, and then you sit back and you see how people react to it. And that is crowdsourcing in a sense, right? I mean, actually at its essence it is, right? Because you're crowdsourcing an opinion of your content, and then you're tweaking based on that opinion, and you're choosing the direction that you're going to take it. We kind of see that as an old paradigm because it really doesn't. It's hard to quantify the value of the content with that paradigm, and that's why we're kind of focused on participation, because we're focused on a medium that actually allows you to gather feedback real time and then have the people that are providing that feedback continue the feedback loop live in real time. So like you're actually talking to your customers, you're talking to your audience, you're talking to your friends. You're getting a much more dynamic loop than you would be in this kind of transactional social media paradigm. And I think that in the future, my gut tells me, and all of our guts tell us here in this office, that we're going to be creating all sorts of things together. We're not just going to be creating, like right now we're creating a video that people on Twitter are watching, right? Because Vincenzo's sitting here and he's answering everybody's questions, and all of a sudden the content that we're delivering to whoever's watching this is changing based on their participation. Right. And now we're able to deliver something to them that's actually valuable to them that they can take and do something with, rather than us just sitting here, like idiots and pretending like we know what people want to hear. And then talking about it and just focusing on our own agendas. And so I think in the future what we're going to see is, by the way, that I didn't mean like that in any sort of offensive way. I'm just saying like instead of just focusing on ourselves, we're focused on the people that actually care about what we're talking about.
Yeah, we'll just see the angry tweets start to roll in.
Yeah, no, I'm thanking the people that
director, right? You can deal with it.
I'm thanking the people that are watching because they're helping to keep the fire going, right? And they're also helping to educate us on what they're thinking about and what they need. So I think that in the future we're going to be creating videos together. We're going to be creating images together. We're going to be writing pieces of content together. We're going to be, this sounds crazy, but we're going to be creating music together. Everything is going to be collaborative, and all of a sudden the relationship that you have, whether it's an audience, whether it's a fan base, whether it's customers, is going to be much more integrated than it is right now. And yeah, sure, the early platforms where you post and then see the reaction was the beginning of that, but I think it's going to go way, way, way further. So if we're talking about crowdsourcing, that's kind of our take, is that you're going to actually be crowdsourcing everything real time in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, good points. I mean, I definitely agree. I see, the global community coming together to, create these things. And, we're a social network too, so the idea that, hey, let's basically sources the recommendations of others to help people find things that are relevant to them based on interest. We're every single day crowdsourcing what are the best things or what are the greatest things that people would recommend for me to do based on the things that I like. And within time, especially within travel, travel's growing at exponential rates. People are wanting to explore, they're wanting to fly, they're wanting to do new stuff. People see the value in experiences versus things. So now everyone is so hungry to know, well, what is the best damn thing that I could do? And so our network is trying to help foster that by kind of weighting out the negative, ratings and reviews. And so it's interesting to see how powerful this will eventually become. Hopefully the idea takes off and, skyrockets and hits the moon and people discover great things. We're a startup. You never know what the future is going to hold. But, it's amazing to see because every day I'm discovering stuff. I'm discovering countries I want to go to that I didn't know exist, and it's all due to, just the community in itself inspiring me through the types of experiences that they put forward to us. And, crowdsourcing, I think, is just, it's amazing what it can do, and just thinking about it over the last week has been kind of eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I want to see if I can get Cynthia's. We're going to try and come back to what we asked you before, Cynthia, about. I just want to hear about it because I want to ask you a question. Go ahead. Tell us about your Woman of the Year and a little bit about Fabulous Arizona, because I think there's a question in there that can sneak in once you tell us about it.
Gotcha. So like I said, not to downplay what an honor it is to be nominated, but really it's essentially a 10-week fundraising campaign where they're having us all compete against each other to raise the most money, which is, it's genius. They raise a ton of money over the course of the 10 weeks through about 15 different, men and women. But yeah, so I'm just on this crazy, like almost a whole nother full-time job process of raising money. A goal of around $30,000 is what my goal is for the 10 weeks. So it's kind of intense.
So my question that I wanted to ask you was, how do you think you could crowdsource your fundraising? Because, I mean, let's face it, you can only reach so many people, right? Like you yourself, and I was in nonprofit for about 4 years, so I totally understand what it takes to, get the word out there. How, do you think it's possible to do it? And is there a way that you are going to crowdsource now that you've talked to us about crowdsourcing? How are we going to crowdsource?
Well, one of the events I'm doing is actually a celebrity brunch, and so I'm bringing in celebrities because I figure that's going to get more buzz. That's going to get people outside of my own network talking about it. So it's, kind of getting that whole, I get to leverage all of those people's networks as well.
And I think the biggest thing is there, like, whether it's Meerkat or whether we're working with, Sky Blue Pink, or whether it's raising money, or whether you have a startup app that is all about experiences. I think crowdsourcing is so ingrained in our culture and what we do that it's almost like I think every conversation could be about crowdsourcing. We could just call it crowdsourcing. It's like, oh, that's what we're talking about. And I love the conversation because really we can go so many ways with it. It doesn't keep us on one track. Like we can talk about so many different things. And I'm still curious about Brandon with your new influencer app that you're at now. I want to hear about that too. So.
Do you? Well, that's nice of you to ask. So I used to work at a really, really amazing, actually one of the best agencies in the world. It's called Arch Rival in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's small, 26 people. And that's where I learned everything I know now. So big shout out to them. Then I went off to Red Bull, got an amazing experience, huge brand, and kind of like you said, it's so weird to shift from like a company of 6,000 back to 26. But that's where I am now at Hello Society, and they take a really unique approach to creating content for a brand and disseminating it. So at my old agency, the brand would come to us. We'd have 4 creatives working on it, and then maybe we do a media buy to push it. So now, 8 years later, I'm here. The brand comes to us. We put it out to thousands of creators to take a look at this brief. They pitch their ideas back. We take the best ones, show it to the brand selects who they want to work with, that person creates it, and then we disseminate it through another set of the other influencers who appreciate what just happened, and they share it because they want to.
That's very cool.
Crowdsourcing at its finest right there, my man.
Yeah.
All right, so one last thing from Ryan before I get into our life hack, which is what we ask every episode here. Ryan, what's coming next for Meerkat? Tell us.
All right. Well, the exciting stuff that's coming for us, I don't know if it's going to be so exciting on the user level. It's exciting for us as a company.
You'd be shocked.
But I'll explain it. So we're actually we're integrating with Facebook, which we're super excited about, and it sounds so basic because like every app and its dog that you download from the App Store is integrated with Facebook. But we started as technology built completely on top of Twitter, and so now we're actually going to allow brands and personalities that have much more ferocious engagement on Facebook to have that audience and access them. And you don't have to have the app if you're a Facebook fan of one of these brands that's streaming live. You can just tune in via Facebook, and so that's incredibly exciting for us.
Wow.
Are they hearing that here first? Are they hearing that here first?
What's that?
Are they hearing it here first? That's all I want to know.
Well, our yes, with the exception of our beta testers.
Right, I know. I'm already on it.
So this is like TechCrunch news via the MCEO talk.
And Ben is actually going to be speaking at TechCrunch Disrupt on Tuesday.
Boom.
He's going to explain. He'll explain all of the stuff. He'll explain everything. But we also have the Android version coming very, very, very soon. Like very soon.
Tweet that. Someone tweet that. Get it out there.
I know. Hey, we're like Meerkat going to Facebook.
I can't give you a date. I'm not going to let you. You can't quote me on a date, but it's very soon.
In the background somewhere, Neve is like wants to shoot you right now. You know that.
No. It's all good. It's all good.
That's amazing.
And then on the more fun, lighter side, we added a feature where if you post an emoji in the comment, your avatar becomes that emoji.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to kind of increase the sense of presence in the stream. So now it's not just like text floating up and up and up. You actually see people's faces changing, and you can be the high five, or you can be the little shit, or whatever you want to be. You can be that. And if you want to talk about crowdsourcing,
I do.
We thought of all sorts of interesting cases in which people that have hundreds of concurrent watchers can kind of feel the crowd by saying, hey guys, they can pull the crowd very fast with this feature, because they can say, hey, look, if you want me to do this, show me this emoji. If you want me to do that, show me that emoji. And then all of a sudden the crowd goes into clapping hands, or the crowd goes into a smiley face, or the crowd goes into,
that's great.
You can see it, right? That's a fun thing that makes everybody feel warm and fuzzy that we added. But what you're going to see down the road is you're probably going to see many more features geared toward collaboration. So that's all I can say. But
well, that's fantastic, and I have to say, Brandon has the best avatar ever riding Falcor.
Thank you.
It was the biggest hit ever. I think people have not stopped talking about that. And Cynthia is like the greatest selfie taker ever. She actually teaches classes on how to take selfies.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
I actually make money off of teaching selfie seminars.
Actually, you should do that on the side.
Well, I am like, okay, well, I'll be selfie queen of San Francisco. I take a lot of selfies.
Do you have like your top 3 things to do? Because I was just the other day, someone was like, I was taking them down here. I was like streaming from down here, and they were like, you're an idiot. You got to stream from up here. What it does is it makes your face look a little bit more kind of narrow, and I need these tips. What are they?
All right, 3 tips. If she wants to give them out, it's up to her to give them out.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you don't. Yeah, I guess.
Well, definitely always angle above. But I know you're talking about, video, but for just regular selfies, I always use the Snapchat camera because it doesn't flip the photo the way the regular camera does.
Oh,
so you get what you see on the photo. And then there's lots of amazing apps that you can use.
But you have to take her class, Ryan, if you want to actually learn more.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You kind of like hold down the button, but I remember like taking some photos with photographers, and they teach you all these things like how to use your eyes to communicate in photos, and how to position your face and stick out your chin and do all this stuff, this weird contortion stuff to your body that feels incredibly awkward but looks amazing afterwards. So that's basically how I go about. Yeah, I don't know. I take a lot of selfies. That's all I can say.
We're nearing the bottom of our hour and top of the next hour, so I'm going to get in our life hack, and I'm going to start with Brandon. We're going to go Brandon, Cynthia, Ryan. Share one daily secret to get you in the mindset for success. Whatever you do, however you start your day, go.
I always keep in mind that creativity will save humanity.
Oh, I like that one. Actually, you have a lot of tweetables tonight, Brandon. What does Cynthia do to get her mind right for success?
Well, I am always preaching passion. I actually have a tattoo that says "Live with Passion." So I'm like, if you're doing what you're passionate about, you're not working a minute of any day. So I just love what I do. So took a huge risk going out on my own, and it's been a rough ride, but it's been awesome because I love what I do. So do what you're excited about.
And keep rocking out because you're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I got 2 of them.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Is that okay?
Sure.
He gets really ready in the morning.
The first is take at least 30 minutes before you look at your phone after you wake up in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're like me, and if you have, especially with Meerkat, you wake up with about 87 notifications, and that doesn't do anything for you that's productive in terms of starting your day, right? No. But more seriously, like, get yourself in a headspace where you're saying to yourself, okay, this is like, you're comfortable in your day, your mind is focused and centered on yourself, and then you can start to move on to focus on other things. I think when you wake up focused on something else, which is what always used to happen to me when I would wake up and the first thing I would do is pull my phone out, it's not good for helping you kind of enter problems with a level mind. The other thing that's a little bit more actionable, I guess, would be take a half a teaspoon of
Apple cider vinegar.
No. Of pink salt, I guess, and add it to like a huge glass of water. And you might want to actually just take the salt first, not add it to the water, because then you're just going to be drinking salt water. But what the salt does is if you take it the first thing you wake up, like within the first 2 minutes of you being awake, what it does is it causes your body to release less cortisol, which is like the stress hormone in your body that causes you to feel a little like, okay, I need to get, like a little stress in the morning.
This is really crazy.
No, I'm serious though. That's what you got to do. And so you take the salt and you pound the water. You're more hydrated from the start. You're releasing less cortisol in your system, so you're more calm from the start. It's a beautiful thing. You guys have to do it. I'm serious.
Pink salt. It has to be pink salt.
Yeah, and I would do like half a teaspoon max.
Ooh, that's a lot of salt.
Oh, the other thing that it does. The other thing that it does is some of the residual minerals in the pink salt will mimic some of the minerals that already exist in your blood, and it will help you hydrate faster. But the reduction of the cortisol is really the most important.
I am blown away. If I try this and something happens and we don't have MCO talk next week, it's on you. You're the new host, Ryan. All right? But listen, I want to thank you all for joining me. I'm sure, a Wednesday night, hump day, there's a lot of other things, but you guys came here with us, and I thank you. And on behalf of my lovely co-host, Ashley, I want to say another successful episode of MCO Talk. Next week, I'm not going to tell you who's going to be on, but if you guys check out my YouTube page, there's a hint of who's coming in the future. So for those of you that are big Instagram geeks or love Instagram, we have someone very special coming on to talk about that. So keep in mind or take a look at it, and follow us on Twitter. Follow me at Vincenzo Landino. Follow Ashley. Her handle is right there somewhere. Check out Hey Let's, the Hey Let's app. Shout out to the Hey Let's app. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
We are